Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, when you typically think about faith, your mind, it probably goes straight to ritual, right?
Prayer, fasting, that sort of thing.
Exactly. But what happens when we take that spiritual focus and turn it squarely onto the most mundane, messy part of our lives? You know, earning a living, making money, conducting business.
And that's exactly where our source material is focused today. We're looking at excerpts from these traditional teachings on, well, the etiquette of earning and living.
Right.
And they put forward this really powerful idea that your worldly effort isn't just some separate chore. It's directly tied to your spiritual trajectory.
So our mission today is to take a deep dive into that philosophy, the one that turns daily commerce into a potentially sacred act. And then we'll get into the very specific, ancient, and honestly highly detailed rules that define what makes a transaction lawful, or halal.
Yeah, for the learner out there, this is really the shortcut to understanding that whole ethical structure of the marketplace.
And the hook here, the core concept, is pretty profound.
It is. The sources describe this world as the arena of testing, effort, and provision.
A farm for the next life. I love that image.
Exactly. A farm for the next life, meaning the effort you put in here, the quality of that effort, is directly related to your final return.
So your 9 to 5 matters just as much as your time on the prayer mat. Maybe even more.
Absolutely. The sources actually categorize people into 3 camps based on their relationship with the world. You have the heedless, who are just completely distracted by it all.
Okay.
Then you have the truly successful, who are focused solely on the hereafter. And then there's that third group, the balanced or moderate.
Which is where most people want to be, I imagine. We have to live, we have to eat, engage with the world, but without losing sight of the bigger goal.
And here's the crucial bit, the caveat. No one is considered moderate unless they live by divine law and observe proper ethics in their work.
So you can't be balanced if your business dealings are shady.
Not at all. The only way to engage with the world moderately is to ensure your transactions are perfectly legal and spiritually clean.
Okay, so let's start with that spiritual side, the excellence of earning. Because the source material really emphasizes work and independence. It often contrasts it very favorably against, say, simple devotion or passive piety.
Oh, the value placed on honest labor is extraordinary. The Quran is quoted emphasizing that the day was specifically made as a time for livelihood.
A time for livelihood.
And it encourages believers, once prayer is done, to spread out in the land and seek the bounty of Allah. So work isn't a burden, it's framed as a blessing to be sought out.
And the anecdotes here, they just completely elevate the status of the merchant. We're told that some sins can only be erased through earning a lawful living.
Think about that. Not by prayer, not by fasting, but by your job.
And this quote, I mean, this is just incredible. The honest, trustworthy merchant will be raised on the day of judgment among the truthful and the martyrs.
Among the martyrs. I mean, when you put honest commerce on par with martyrdom, you realize the enormous spiritual stakes attached to every single transaction.
Yeah, every contract, every receipt, there's this fantastic story about a strong, capable man seen working hard, early in the morning.
Right.
And a companion looks at him and says, if only he used his strength in the way of Allah. And the Prophet immediately corrects him. He says, do not say that. If he works to support himself and remain independent, he is in the way of Allah.
The distinction is all about intention, isn't it?
It's everything.
Working to support your family, to be independent, that's a spiritual act. But if the goal is just gathering wealth to show off, well then, he is working for Satan.
And this spiritual purity is tied directly to self-sufficiency. We're told the best food is what a person earns through his own hands. He even advised, engage in trade, for 910 of livelihood is found in it.
This focus on independence is just paramount. The idea is that avoiding reliance on others actually protects your faith. There's a remarkable example of Jesus, peace be upon him. He once saw a man who was just worshiping all day, and he relied entirely on his brother who worked to support him. Jesus told him, your brother is more devoted to Allah than you.
Wow. So physical labor can be a higher form of worship than prayer if that prayer requires dependency. That turns a lot of ideas on their head.
It really does. And the warnings against begging, they are startlingly severe. The texts say it is better for one of you to take a rope, gather firewood, to sell than to go and beg.
And the consequence is severe.
Whoever opens the door of begging for himself, God will open for him 70 doors of poverty and humiliation.
70 doors of humiliation. That feels like more than just a financial warning. It sounds like a societal one. Why was dependence seen as so corrosive?
Well, Lukeman the Wise explains it. He warned that poverty brings weakness in his religion, confusion in his mind, and loss of generosity. It just compromises you.
It weakens you on every level.
Yeah, your ability to think clearly, to be virtuous, to stand independently before God. Umar, may God be pleased with him, he apparently disliked seeing anyone idle. He saw self-sufficiency as essential to protect one's faith and honor.
So spiritual freedom requires physical independence.
It requires effort. There's a story about Imam Ahmed being asked about a man who just sat in a mosque, waiting for sustenance to arrive.
And he rejected that idea.
Completely. He cited the example of the birds. They leave their nests hungry each morning and return in the evening full. You have to go out and make the effort.
Okay, so that sets the stage perfectly. Earning is a highly virtuous act. It can even rank with martyrdom. But that incredible reward structure means the stakes are just incredibly high. The reward is conditional.
Exactly. On not falling into error. And this is the bridge that takes us from the ethics of earning the intention to the law of earning your actions.
Right. To get that reward, you have to know what you're doing.
You have to know the difference between a valid transaction and an invalid one. This means seeking knowledge isn't optional. It's a duty, especially if you're in business.
You have to learn the rules of commerce, the fee.
Or you risk committing a major error without even knowing it. This is why there's that famous report that Umar used to walk through the marketplace.
And he would strike people.
He would, yes. He'd strike traders who didn't have this knowledge, saying, "Let no one trade in our market except someone who understands the rules, lest he fall into usury knowingly or unknowingly."
That's a powerful incentive to get a crash course in commercial law.
Mm-hmm.
So a truly ethical transaction, we learn, rests on 4 pillars. Let's focus on the first one, which is just structural validity.
Okay, so the basics of a valid sale contract. We start with the parties involved. Who can't participate in a valid trade?
Children, I'd assume.
Children and persons of unsound mind, yes, their contracts are just invalid. Slaves, unless they have permission. And traditionally, the blind, who had to appoint a sighted representative to verify the item.
Okay, and what about the item being sold, the object of the transaction itself? This is where the rules get very, very detailed.
Very. And it's all designed to remove uncertainty. So there are 6 necessary conditions. First, it has to be pure and lawful.
So no trading forbidden items like dogs, pigs, wine.
Exactly, but the exception proves the rule. Selling silkworm larvae, for instance, is permissible because they're seen as beneficial, like selling eggs.
And second, the item must be beneficial in a lawful sense.
Correct. You can't sell things considered to have no lawful benefit. Traditionally, this list included insects, snakes, and also sculpted images of animals.
And musical instruments.
And musical instruments, like the lute or tambourine. The idea was that their primary use was deemed to lead away from lawful benefit.
That's fascinating. I mean, how do rules like that adapt when the use of something changes so dramatically? How do you apply a ban on certain instruments to, say, modern media, where the function of music is completely different?
That is the ongoing challenge for scholars today, absolutely. The principle, though, it remains. The object must lead to lawful benefit. If an item's primary use is illicit, its sale is forbidden.
But if it has a mix?
If an item, like a smartphone, has overwhelming lawful utility alongside some minor illicit potential, the sale usually remains valid. The principle is about avoiding the direct sale of something sinful.
Got it. Okay, third condition, ownership.
Simple, right. The seller must own the item or be authorized to sell it. But this invalidates a lot of modern errors. Like selling a commodity short without having secured the means to deliver it. Or, say, a wife selling her husband's property without his consent.
And the fourth condition. This seems to tackle uncertainty head-on. Deliverability.
It does. The item has to be available and deliverable at the moment of the contract. This is a classic application of avoiding gharar, or excessive uncertainty. You can't sell fish that are still swimming in the sea.
Or an unborn animal in the womb.
Exactly. Or wool that's still on the sheep. If you can't reliably hand it over and verify its quantity right then and there, the transaction is invalid.
That rule prevents speculative sales completely. If you can't guarantee delivery of that specific item now, the risk is just too high.
Precisely. And that links to the fifth condition. The item has to be clearly measurable. No ambiguity.
So you need a defined quantity. Weight, volume, count.
Yes. You can't say, "I sell you 1 sheep from this flock." The contract is invalid because the object is undefined. Which sheep?
And finally, the sixth condition. Possession before resale.
Yeah, this is a big one for movable goods. If you buy something to resell it, you must take physical possession of it first, before you sell it on.
Why is that so important?
Because the Prophet forbade selling something not yet in the seller's possession. It ensures that risk transfers properly. It prevents a chain of speculative sales where the original buyer never actually assumes responsibility for the goods.
Okay, let's move to Pillar 3, the wording of the contract, offer and acceptance. I mean, in a grocery store, we just hand over money for goods. Is that okay under these rules?
This touches on one of the great debates in commercial law. The strictest view from someone like Imam Shafi would say no. You need a verbal statement, I sell, I buy.
But that's not how the world works for small things.
Exactly. So the more flexible view, like Imam Abu Hanifa's, permits these action-based exchanges for trivial items.
I appreciate that distinction between trivial and valuable.
It's vital. For trivial goods, bread, vegetables. The silent give and take is fine because custom makes the intent clear. But for valuable goods, real estate, a formal verbal contract is necessary.
Because it's binding and harder to deny later, it prevents high-stakes disputes.
It's about peace of mind. The clarity is proportional to the value.
That's the key takeaway for the learner. Okay, moving to Part 3. Let's talk about the big financial red lines that can void a transaction, starting with usury, or riba.
Riba is strictly prohibited. It applies mainly to two categories of items: money, which was historically gold and silver, and foodstuffs.
And the concern is what? Exploitation.
The concern is that money and food are essential, fungible items. So any unequal exchange of the same type or any deferred payment, it just introduces hidden interest, which leads to exploitation.
So if I exchange gold for silver or dollars for euros, it has to be hand-to-hand and on the spot, no debt allowed.
Right. And if you exchange two items of the same type, gold for gold or rice for rice, it must be immediate and equal in weight or value.
So I can't trade, say, a pound of high-quality dates for 2 pounds of low-quality dates.
You cannot, nor can you trade a processed food, like flour, for the raw version, wheat. The difference in labor and quantity creates an immediate uncertainty and potential for that hidden interest.
That level of detail is intense, but necessary to avoid even subtle forms of interest. Okay, next up is public injustice, monopoly or hoarding. The condemnation here is really severe.
It is, because it harms the entire community. And monopoly isn't just about holding inventory, it's the intent. A merchant hoards essential goods, usually food, waiting for prices to skyrocket so they can exploit the community's need.
But doesn't that unintentionally discourage large-scale inventory management? You know, the kind you need for a stable supply chain in the modern world.
That's a critical modern question. The distinction is all about intent and impact. Managing inventory to ensure a stable, reliable supply, that's necessary and ethical.
But hoarding?
Hoarding is about withholding essential goods specifically to cause market distress and profit from suffering. And the quotes reflect the severity. Whoever hoards food for 40 days, then gives it in charity, it will not make up for the sin of hoarding.
And the other one, that such a person is as though he has killed the entire community.
It's that serious.
The story of the man of Wasit just exemplifies this perfectly. His agent waits, makes a massive profit by hoarding wheat, but the owner, he just rejects it.
Declares the prophet compromised his faith and orders the entire sum given to charity. Legally, it was a sale, but spiritually, it was theft from the community.
That's the core tension, isn't it? You have to satisfy both the letter of the law and the conscience of the faith.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's quickly synthesize the pitfalls and some other transaction types. The recurring theme seems to be avoiding gharar, that uncertainty, in every single structure.
Let's start with salam, the advanced payment contract. You use this when you prepay for goods that will be delivered later, common for, say, seasonal, produce.
So if I'm prepaying, the agreement has to be rock solid to avoid that uncertainty.
Precisely. 3 things have to be specific and fixed: the price, the exact characteristics of the goods, quality, type, grade, and the delivery date.
And the contract is invalid if it's tied to an uncertain source.
Immediately invalid. You can't say delivery will be from the fruit of this garden because that garden might fail. Total uncertainty.
What about rental agreements, Ijara? Hiring a worker or renting a car?
The fee has to be defined and certain. A common pitfall that invalidates the contract is paying the worker with the uncertain product of their own labor.
For example?
For example, paying a butcher with the animal's skin, or paying a miller with a portion of the flour. The value of the payment itself is variable and uncertain, and that introduces gharar.
And for business loans and investment partnerships, specifically mudarba, where one person provides capital and another provides labor, how does profit have to be defined?
It has to be a clear portion or percentage of the total profit, 1/3, half, whatever. It can't be a fixed amount, like you will receive 100 as profit.
Why not?
Because if the business only makes 50 in profit, the contract fails. That fixed amount was guaranteed, so it acted like an interest payment. It has to be proportional to the actual success or failure.
And finally, partnerships based just on shared labor or reputation.
Generally invalid. The most valid form is an investment partnership where assets are fully combined.
The goal across all of these, it seems, is just complete clarity and certainty. The law is designed to give you peace of mind.
So that you're confident that every single penny you earn is legally and spiritually sound.
This has been a deeply structured dive. We started by establishing that earning a living isn't just permissible. It's a high spiritual vehicle, one that can put you on par with the martyrs.
Yeah.
But that vehicle only reaches its destination if it's driven with a deep awareness of the law.
And that's the final context. It links all these detailed rules back to your own conscience. As the source notes, legal validity doesn't always guarantee spiritual acceptance. We saw that with the man who hoarded wheat. The truly God-conscious person seeks a ruling that brings peace to the heart and avoids matters that are doubtful.
So what does this complex system of law ultimately mean for you, the learner, as you go about your day?
Well, think about this final provocative thought. The source notes that the reward of the person who receives charity, if that charity helps them worship, is equal to the reward of the person who gave it.
Okay, equal reward.
Right. So if earning your own living is also a highly rewarded form of worship, does the pursuit of lawful commerce then become the single most direct dual path to success, bringing rewards simultaneously in both this world and the next?
It turns the marketplace into the ultimate arena for spiritual achievement.
Something to consider as you sign your next contract.